All right, guys, Chase here with Southwest Indiana Outdoors, and today we're going to be talking about getting started kayak fishing. So, the first thing that you want to consider if you're thinking about getting into kayak fishing is what kind of water you're going to be fishing in. Do you have rivers near you? Do you have small lakes, ponds near you? Do you have large lakes near you, or are you close to salt water and that's what you're wanting to go fishing? Figuring out the water is going to help you pick the right kayak. So the first thing you need to figure out, hey, if you're really wanting to be a river guy, but you live 4 hours from a river, is your kayak going to get the use out of it that you're wanting to put into it? Now, maybe you can get a kayak that's versatile that'll work in a lake and work in a river. And when you do get a chance to go hit a river, it works that way. But finding the kayak that's going to work for you is going to be first picked through what bodies of water you're going to be fishing. Next, to pick a kayak, think about how you're going to haul that kayak. So you go to a shop, pick up that kayak, or even if you order it online and have it shipped to you, how are you going to get that kayak from you to the body of water that you're wanting to fish? Do you have a small car and you're going to have to figure out how to car top that kayak? Do you have a truck and you're going to be hauling it in the bed? Do you have a minivan like I started out with? I started out with a minivan and I went to the J hook style holders, and that's how I hauled my kayak for the first year and a half that I was in it. So, figuring out how you're going to haul your kayak, because ultimately, if you're going to be roof-topping, especially on something that's fairly tall, like a minivan, if you're going to be roof-topping a kayak and the kayak weighs 120 pounds, are you going to be able to do that each trip that you're going out? Now, there are some extra solutions. You got like the kayak loading system that actually helps you load your kayak up on there. There are lots of tips and tricks on loading your kayak, but make sure that it's something that you're going to be able to do yourself, because even if you get that kayak and love that kayak but can't get it to the water, what good is it doing you? The next thing that you're going to want to know is how are you going to store that kayak? Because when you get it home, you can't just leave the kayak out in the sun. That's when you're going to end up having issues with the kayak getting brittle in the sun, because these kayaks are not made to be in the sun 24/7, 365 days a year. Yeah, we know that we're going to put them out in the sun when we're out on them, but there are also UV protectants that we can put on our kayaks and keep them safe for those times that we are out on them for a lot of hours. Especially through the summer months when we're on the kayaks a lot, day in, day out, we're going to want to protect them from the UV rays, but you cannot just leave your kayak outside. You're going to have issues. So if you are leaving it outside, you're going to want to make sure that you've got something to tarp it down, to cover it up, also to keep animals from it, because you're going to have animals that can get in and chew holes in your kayak. So very important knowing where you're going to store your kayak. That is a big thing to plan out before you buy your kayak. Say you've got a shed and that shed is 11 feet. Well, you probably better not buy a 13-foot kayak and expect that you're going to hide it in that shed. You need to get one that's maybe 10 foot, that, hey, it's going to fit in that shed comfortably. Yeah, maybe you can put it diagonal and you can fit a little bit longer kayak. That's fine too. But just knowing how you're going to keep it stored is very, very important. The next thing I'm going to recommend, go to a kayak dealer. Don't just go to Walmart. Don't just go to Dick's Sporting Goods. Do those things work? Yes, you can go get a kayak from them. But if you have any questions, you're not going to be able to ask any questions and the people there really be able to give you any information unless those people there kayak fish as well. Go to a dealer. If you've got a local dealer near you, if you're in my area or the Southern Illinois, Missouri area, check out Midwest Kayak Company. My buddy James there, he owns a shop. He has a huge selection of kayaks. He has Crescent, Native, Bonafide, multiple different other brands. Check out a shop like him and go in and talk to the owner. They are going to kind of steer you in that right direction. They're going to ask you those questions like, hey, what type of body of water are you going to be fishing? So find a local dealer, go in, talk to them, and come up with a plan on what kayak is going to work for you. All right, so you pick your kayak. You say, hey, this one is the one I want. I know this is the kayak that's for me. You decide to buy it. You're also going to want to buy a good paddle. And I will say, do not skimp on the paddle. Make sure you buy a quality paddle. Now, you can get a quality paddle anywhere from $100 to $300. That $100 paddle should be just fine. Don't go out and buy a $20 paddle and expect that you're going to love kayaking, because a paddle makes a world of difference in how you feel out there on the water, especially if you are in a paddle kayak. Now, if you're in a pedal drive kayak, is the paddle as important? Maybe not. I still think it's very vital to get a good paddle, because if you're in a pedal kayak and something happens to your pedals, or you're in shallow water, which I spend a lot of time in shallow water, you're still going to be paddling that kayak. You want a paddle that is going to be efficient, that is not going to be too heavy, because you will tire out from paddling way faster than you will from pedaling. And you will tire out if you've got a junk paddle that is not efficient, which means pushing water and actually moving your kayak forward. If you get those cheap paddles, the blades a lot of times are super flimsy and are very prone to breaking. I know people that go to Walmart, just pick up a cheap Ozark Trail paddle and come back a couple of weeks later because their paddle snapped while they were going, down a river or something. It's dangerous. Get a good paddle. Make sure, they say buy once, cry once. Buy a good paddle the first time. Yeah, it's going to burn a little bit, spending a little bit of extra money on a paddle. You're not going to regret it in the long run, because that paddle is going to last you years. The first paddle I bought, I am still currently using, because I bought a good paddle the very first time. I strongly recommend Bending Branches paddles. They are excellent paddles and have some that are in about every price range you can think of. The next thing I want to talk on is a good, comfortable PFD, because that's important as well. If you cannot be comfortable in your PFD, you're not going to wear it on the water. If you're not wearing your PFD on the water, you are prone to be a kayak fishing fatality. They happen every year. If you spend much time on any of the Facebook groups that are kayak fishing related, you're going to see multiple times a year a picture of a kayak floating and a PFD strapped to the seat, strapped to the Blackpak, or the PFD in the hole, and no human around. And 90% of the time, the body is found days later at the bottom of a lake, at the bottom of a river. Wear your PFD. It is so important to do. So finding a PFD that fits you comfortably and that you're going to wear every time you go out on the water is very, very important. Um, think of it like this. Hey, I'm a great swimmer. I can swim really well. But I have multiple times myself ran into logs under the water. I've turned over a kayak a couple times. There is always that potential to have an accident while you're fishing, especially. Your mind is focused on, hey, I've got to try to catch this fish. And you're looking one direction and may not see, even if you have good situational awareness, you may not see something that's coming up on you. Maybe a boat sent a wave from a little ways around the lake and you weren't expecting it. You're leaned to this side of the kayak and that wave gets you and it tips you up and you overcorrect. You immediately lean over, and when your kayak falls back to this side, you're already leaning over the edge of that kayak and you roll right out of the kayak. What if there's a limb under there and you hit your head? Doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are if you're unconscious. Get a PFD that you can wear comfortably. Currently, I'm in a Stohlquist PFD. I think it's a Stohlquist Fisherman. I will make sure to link that in the description here. I'll link a paddle as well. My current paddle and then the Bending Branches paddle I was using. But get a comfortable PFD that you're going to wear every single time you're on the water. So the next thing, you've got your kayak, you've got your PFD, you've got a paddle that you feel like you're going to be able to handle paddling this kayak for days on end. So what's the next step? Obviously it's rigging, right? Go ahead, go buy your Blackpak, or hey, look, I'm a big Greg Blanchard fan. I'm sure several of you guys are as well. Go out, get a custom made crate that holds 14 rods like Greg Blanchard has. Go out there, load your kayak up with 14 rods, get your electronics on there, your motor, get everything on that kayak, load it up, fully rig it out, get it out on the water for the first time. You're going to be really glad that you brought 14 rods, because the first thing you're going to do is break 3 of them. You're going to lose 2 others, and you're going to bird nest 5 more because you caught them on the rods that are behind you. Then you're going to forget how to work something, because this is your first time in this kayak. You're fully rigged. You're ready to go. And you're going to turn over the kayak. You're going to lose your batteries. You're going to lose all your tackle that you brought with you. You're going to break your new motor that you just bought. Do not do that, guys. Go out with the kayak completely unrigged. Don't go out and spend $1,000 on all the top accessories that you see your favorite YouTuber, your favorite pro fisherman all using. Don't do it. Go out. Maybe you want to get one forward-facing rod holder because your kayak doesn't come with one. Get a forward-facing rod holder, rig it up on your boat so you can have one rod with you. I strongly suggest go out a couple times without even bringing a rod with you. Go out, learn your boat. Go out, spend some time pedaling it if it's a pedal drive, paddling it if it's a paddle kayak. Spend some time on your kayak and learn it. Learn the ins and outs of it. Hey, you want to try standing on the kayak? You're going to be a lot more confident standing if you've got nothing else in that kayak than you. So go out, practice the kayak, learn a little bit about the stability. Hey, here's what the primary stability is. I can lean over this far. And when that secondary stability catches, what am I doing? Is it feeling pretty solid? Do I feel like I've got a lot of leeway there? Go for it, So figure out what you think of the kayak before you start putting money into it and rigging that kayak up. I strongly, strongly suggest that, guys. Spend time on the water, because the last thing you want to do is spend about $1,000 in accessories and get your kayak out and realize that you don't like half of what you bought, because everything you just bought just went down in value. You're going to throw those on Facebook Marketplace and you're going to lose money on everything that you just purchased because you thought you had to have it because Greg Blanchard has it. So don't make those mistakes. These mistakes are mistakes I've seen a ton of guys make over the years. And I strongly suggest you don't add to your kayak until you've spent some time in the kayak and know what you really want. And I suggest that when you do start adding, add things a little bit at a time, because you might decide that, hey, you've got to have a Blackpak that holds 10 rods because you really want your 10 rods on there. And you've got to have a 10-inch graph, and you've got to have 5 track packs, and you've got to have all these other items. You may decide that you've got to have those, but add the items just a couple pieces at a time. Get used to each of those items in your boat, and then start adding in the other things. Spend some time at each level of your kayak, because you're going to build confidence in the kayak. You're going to build confidence in your gear. To this day, I still don't have my Bonafide, which I've been in since January. I don't have it fully outfitted with everything that I'm going to add on to it. Now, some things I already have put into it, but there are a lot of things that I'm still going to add to it. But I'm figuring out where each thing goes as I add an item to it. So figuring out how to rig up your kayak as you go is one of my huge recommendations, guys. Don't just throw everything in there. Take it one step at a time. I would say, if you're going to look at adding electronics, you're going to want to look at where your batteries are going to fit. So that's going to determine what size batteries you can really fit on your kayak. So say you're just going to add a graph. You don't need a huge battery. You can go out and get an Aqua like 20 amp hour battery, and that'll power a lot of different graphs. If you're going into some of the bigger graphs, you may want to get a 50 amp hour battery. But find where your batteries are going to fit in your kayak, what your compartment space is, and if you have to kind of build anything to hold those batteries. Figure that out, and start working towards those things. A motor. A motor is something that I think is really cool in the kayak industry. I'm going to be adding a motor myself, but with a motor comes a big battery because you're going to want to have those motors that's going to push you around on those big bodies of water. Or if you're going to be hitting a river, you're going to want that motor that's going to power you upriver, either to your launch site or above your launch site so you can drift back down. You're going to want to get a big battery that's not going to run dead while you're on the water. So where is that battery going to fit in your kayak? Start planning these things out. That way, when you start outfitting and rigging, you've already got the plan together and you can do it, again, a little at a time. Once you put the motor on there, go out with your kayak again, bare bones. Just have the motor on there. Don't have all your gear on there. Don't have $1,000 of gear plus your motor and battery that you just put on there. Because next thing you know, you've got a motor with spot lock and you hit spot lock and something happens and it kicks into the fifth speed and spins a circle and throws you out and throws half your gear out while it does that. Make sure you go back out there, experiment with that kayak while you've got that motor in, while you've got that added weight in, and know that you're not going to end up having a safety issue because of the gear that you just added. So yeah, guys, that is my getting started kayak fishing. This is part of my new getting started series. Let me know what you think of this video and go back and watch the other two videos. The other two videos are getting started kayak tournament fishing and getting started as an outdoor content creator. So go back, watch those videos. Let me know what you think of this series and let me know some other items that you would like to see in this video series. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.